folks. Welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, the NBC Network, with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show. I think this topic is something that we all need, and we all need to listen to. I'm not saying it because it's our show here, but really it's something that we should love. And I mean it in the real word and in the real term, because we're going to talk about the language of love today. And I think we all can use a little love. I mean, we are around the holiday seasons right now, and it's usually a good cheer time where there's joy and connection and things like that. But we live in a world where there's a lot of unfortunate events and racism, hatred, crime, and it starts from an early age, from school bullying, and it goes on and on and on. But today, my expert is someone who actually really is spreading the word about love and teaches the real language. I mean, there's ways to actually do this, to live through life with the message of love and the language of love. So that's all I have to say personally. But I want to bring our guest today, Paul Zolman. Paul, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you, Hurricane. Great to be here, and so glad for the invitation. Been really, really looking forward to this for a long time.
Well, listen, likewise. Listen, it's funny, you and I, we had a brief discussion, and yesterday we kind of talked about it. One of my co-hosts, he asked, like, what is, the opposite of love or hate? I mean, we were talking about hate and love, and he said that hate is not the opposite of love. And so we that was kind of like a part of the discussion. And then we just had another talk show about communication and, how to make sure that you convey the message without hurting people's feelings and things like that. And over, time, I've had several shows that we talked about in psychiatry stuff and psychology and the patterns of, some of the, I would call them behaviors these days. And one of them that we always talk about, especially in school, is bullying. And by the way, bullying exists everywhere, not just in school. And we always want to eventually bring this message of love. But love is a big word, and there's a lot of stuff. Now, you're an expert in this communication way of bringing this, I guess, concept that is dear to us, yet it evades us. So before we go there, Paul, let's talk about you and what got you into this particular world of messaging and work, because you do this. You are helping people and training them and helping people train to actually do this better. And you also have your book that you explain how to do these things. So let's talk about your journey that got you into this and why.
Great question, Hurricane. And what I want to tell you about is that I really learned the opposite first. So I've gone the whole spectrum. I started my life in an abusive home. They had all sorts of abuse. There was economic abuse, there was physical abuse, there was social abuse, there was sexual abuse, there was verbal abuse, many different kinds of abuses in that home, and we were really good at it. We could put somebody down so quickly that we could put them to shame. And it was a horrible thing, Hurricane. I felt like a hurricane. I felt like I was that destructive person that could take a person down in a matter. I mean, it was almost like wrestling. How many seconds will it take to pin this guy? And you're trying to pin people down and just put them down so that it elevates you. And maybe that's really a common trait of people that come from an angry culture. Another trait that is common among that angry culture is people are walking over you. They're talking, thinking that what they have to say is a whole lot more important than anything you might be saying. Nobody hears anything because they're talking, you're talking, nothing gets heard. That's part of angry culture. Another part of it is that there are no boundaries. I mean, you can look over your neighbor's wall and say what they're doing and say, what's wrong with that person? Why are they doing that? And I found myself doing that quite a bit until I realized that it's none of my business. Why am I being annoyed at what that person is doing and it being none of my business? When I realized that, Hurricane, I had such a huge relief come over me. You mean I don't have to bother that person? I don't have to be annoyed at that person? I stopped. I found myself stacking annoyance on top of annoyance on top of annoyance until I had this flash of anger. I wanted to stop that behavior, and I didn't know how to get out of it. Every 17-year-old or every 18-year-old makes a declaration at that age, say, I'm never going to do what my parents did. I'm not going to raise my children like I was raised. I'm number 10 of 11, Hurricane, and my grandfather had 19 children. I only have 8. So only 8. Only 8. And my children only have 3. I don't get this, Hurricane. I want more grandchildren. I think that's why you have children, so you can get to the grandchildren, right? I want more grandchildren. But even in that, trying to raise these children, I found myself being quickly upset. And I did not want that. And my wife got annoyed at it. And just over a period of time, 23 and a half years, she was finally fed up with that. And there were some other circumstances that we just departed ways. And so I'm primary custodian now of 5 remaining children in the house. And with those 5 children, when it's my ex-wife's time to have the children for her weekend, I decide I'm going to have this take this little time to have a little midlife crisis, have some fun. And I thought, I'm going to do what I call destination dating. I'm going to find a lady in a different place. We'll pick a city to meet in. We'll have a date, and then we'll go back home. And so I did that for about a year and a half. And it was kind of that upper level of doing dating while you're single. You just pick a place and you go to that place. So I went to Daytona Beach and Jacksonville, Atlanta, Charlotte, North Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, New York City, Salt Lake City, Kansas City, Nashville. Went to the Grand Canyon, Phoenix, Cabo San Lucas, and a lot of other places, Las Vegas. Just many, many cities over a year and a half period of time. I was going all these different places. It's like the lyrics of that song, Hurricane, looking for love in all the wrong places. I didn't find anything, not a thing. But I did find someone that I was interested in. I thought she was interested too. So I moved to Phoenix. Didn't work out. And then this was like after 3.5 years, my ex-wife now decides she wants the three remaining children. She wants primary custody. She's done with whatever, and she's moving back in with her parents. Mid-40s, she's moved back with her parents. I think this is a opportunity of a lifetime for these last 3 children, because by the time I was born, number 10 of 11 children, I didn't even know my grandfathers. They were dead before I was born. And had one grandmother 350 miles east and one grandmother 350 miles west of where I lived when I grew up. I didn't see them very often. I thought this would be a really, really good opportunity. I knew her parents, of course, and they were really good people. I thought I would love my children, these last 3 children, to get to know their grandparents. So I gave up primary custody to my ex-wife. Now I'm all alone. My sister gives me a call, and she lives 7 hours away, and she said she had this neighbor that she wanted to introduce to me. I said, sis, I am just done with this destination dating. I don't want to do it anymore. She says, oh, come on. When you're number 10 of 11, you have to listen to what your older sister says. So I said, okay, I'll email her. Well, what kind of relationship can you expect to develop, Hurricane, with email? I didn't think much would happen of it, but this lady actually was a really good writer. So we have 4 or 5 exchanges, and after those 4 or 5 exchanges, I get brave. I'm going to ask her how many times she's been married. So I send the question across her. We're still emailing at this time. There's no voice contact. There's nothing like that. It's just email. I send it over to her, and she writes back, and she says, counting the 5 that are buried in the backyard. And I thought, this is hilarious. I laughed just like you're laughing, Hurricane. I laughed crazy. I said, I got a live one here. I got someone that's got some personality, someone that has actually has a sense of humor. This might be very interesting. I'm going to pursue this a little bit more. So we began to call and began to get closer. And then finally I moved up to where my sister was at, and we became serious. In that moment, we're serious. Now it's time for big brother approval. I'm number 10 of 11. You got to have that too. So I took her 300 miles north to my brother's house. First thing that happened when we went there, my sister-in-law pulls her aside and says, the only emotion that the Zolman family had growing up was anger. At first I denied it, said, then it made me mad. And I thought, she nailed it. And I verified it for her. And I thought, if that's what outsiders have as an opinion of the Zolman family, I had an opportunity right then and there to change that perception. So I started reading the color code and I started reading the 5 love languages, and I really settled in on the love languages. So this is kind of how I got to the love languages. I loved the principles. I didn't get it. I came from anger, and I didn't get this love thing, didn't get it at all. You mean, Hurricane, that if I guess what your love language is and cater to that, Dr. Chapman's calling that love? That doesn't sound like love. But who am I to say what love is? It didn't sound like love. It wasn't working. I'm a bad guesser. Obviously, I'm a bad guesser. It's not worked up until that particular time. The second thing that Dr. Chapman has in his book is that, well, if you take this survey I have, you can find out what your love language is. Hurricane, what am I supposed to do with that? Advertise? Hello, Hurricane, I'm gifts. What do you have for me today? Or here's my Venmo account, my QR code for my Venmo. Yeah, that's so awkward. That's not love either. What do you think of Dr. Chapman? It wasn't working for me, but I had an idea. Even as dysfunctional as our family was growing up, we played games, and there was still all the put downs, there was still all the smack talk, aggressive competition like you've not ever seen. Just really a lot of that within the family. It still brought our family together. I thought, well, what if I could make this a game? So I contacted Dr. Chapman and said, are you licensing those little pictures, those little icons you have for each one of the love languages? And his attorney, after a couple of weeks, wrote back and said, no, we're not doing that at this time. It just happened to have a friend that's an intellectual property copyright attorney within my neighborhood that I was friends with, and went to him and said the same idea. He told me this. He said, theory, like the love language theory, is not copyrightable. Application is. They weren't doing it as a game, so I thought, I'll just make my own icons and make it into a game. So that's what I did. And I created a cube that has each one of the love languages, a symbol for each one of the love languages on it. This cube that I'm holding right now for the listeners, they can't see it, is 2 hands together forming a heart, very common thing, but there's a little conversation flout like you might see in the funnies or in the cartoons. That would be the words of the heart. So that icon, that picture, is the words. That day you're going to practice words. You're going to compliment people. You could tell them you love them if it's appropriate, but you're just watching for what's right about that person. What can I tell that person that they might not know? How can I compliment that person? The next day you roll the cube, it might be different. This one is a hand holding an hourglass. Hourglass measures time. People that like time like to sit down with you. You don't even have to talk. My wife loves me to sit down and watch Korean dramas with her. I like Hallmark movies. She doesn't like Hallmark movies. We just have to sit and just be together. We don't even have to talk. And she likes that. The next one I'm holding looks like a waiter holding a platter. That would represent service. Service, people that love service as a primary love language like to have their car washed. They like it gassed up. They like the carpet vacuumed. They like the trash taken out. They like help with the laundry or the dishes. Something like that. Those are people that like service. 2 hands put together, touching like they're holding hands. Those are people that like the touch. On that particular day, if it's appropriate, you can give them a hug, do the high five, the fist bump, the pat on the back, obviously Hurricane above the waist. We're just you're doing appropriate physical touch here. So that would be what you do on that day. Then the next day or the next icon is a hand holding a gift. That for me is the kind of the encompassing love language. It could be an umbrella, so to speak, for all the other love languages. A hug could be a gift. Doing service, creating dinner, making dinner for someone, giving that to them. A note could be a gift. Just spending time with them could be a gift of your time. It really kind of encompasses. It does not have to be a store-bought gift. That's nice from time to time, but it could be anything like that. So those are 5 love languages, 6 sides on the cube. The 6th side is surprise me. I named it surprise me because on that particular day, you're watching for opportunity to do random acts of kindness. Just 2 instructions. You roll the die every day. Whatever it lands on, that's the love language you practice giving away all day that day. What I realized in this whole process, Hurricane, is that I don't have control over bidding love to come my way. That's like me looking back to looking over the fence, saying what's wrong with that person, and thinking I had control over what their life is. Just similarly, I don't have control over whoever loves me. It comes as it may. But I do have control over giving it away and responding when it comes that my way. What this does for you is that over a 30-day period, you will have rolled all 5 love languages and have given them away. It makes you very versed in each one of the love languages. You become what I like to call a love language linguist. A sexy title, Hurricane. I know you want it. I know many of your listeners want that sexy title. You put it on your resume, that employer's going to say, what the heck is a love language linguist? You're going to say,
I can just hear that.
yeah, absolutely. So you're going to say, I just love people. That employer wants their customers loved, and they want a loving versus a hostile environment within the workplace. A lot of hostility out there. This will tamp that down. Just focus on sending love out. You're sending it out without any regard of it ever coming back, but trusting the laws of the universe that were in place before you and I were ever born. The law of the harvest, karma, law of attraction, which all say you send it out, someday it's coming back to you. Why would you send anger out knowing those laws of the universe? Why would you make somebody's day miserable knowing that they're going to make other people's days miserable? Send out love, make their day. You're watching for that. You're watching for people to light up. No longer do you have to say, Hurricane, excuse me, could we pause this relationship for a moment while I have you take this survey so I know how to love you? Awkward. We're done with awkward. Don't have to do that. So that's kind of story. That's kind of how I got to become a love language linguist. That's how I made a transition from being an angry person looking at what's wrong with people, only focusing on maybe 10 or 20% of their personality, missing 80 to 90% of what's good about them. Now the paradigm shift is now what's right about that person? What can I love about that person? I am so busy watching for that, I forget to be annoyed. I'm not angry. I'm not stacking those angry steps back to the flash of anger anymore.
I had to take a deep breath there. Man, this was intense. I mean, listen to you and you. Yeah, I mean, you've covered quite a bit of things, and I have to say, first of all, I commend you. I mean, for it's genius what you just did there. I mean, that little cube can make a real difference in somebody's life. I mean, you can read all the books, you can read all the stuff, you can listen to all the shows and everything, but you gave one little idea alive, and that life can make lives different and change lives for the better. And while somebody else did similar, they just didn't do it. As we say in the law, there's always loopholes. You found the angle that worked, and you created a whole different thing that makes it's maybe competitive, whatever the case may be. And sometimes we can use more of these tools in this world that we live in. But you have come up with something. But I want to go back to your story. As one of 11, huge family, and there's a lot of anger kind of concept. And by the way, you and millions, if not billions, of people on this planet have a similar, life. Unfortunately, we hear it, we see it. I don't think anyone watching and listening has not experienced some sort of anger, conflict, or some sort of a bad experience or exchange with somebody else. And again, this is not a secret. I've made it, my point to share this over and over in many shows. But me being as a kid bullied, a few times, over until I got to a point where I started into the martial arts, and that kind of gave me a little bit of different approach to how to deal with that problem, give me the confidence, give me the discipline, so on and so forth. And I was able to actually stand my, my grounds, but it does impact. I mean, it's really serious. And we hear stories today of bullying everywhere. I mean, I was talking to my kids. Now they have this thing. Now they stomp your head on the freaking
Mm.
curb. I mean, how can you really do that? I mean, it's unbelievable that the stuff that's coming up now, and people do stupid things. They push it out. It's like they had so many incidents and people die in these things
Hmm.
because of dumb stuff. I mean, you see, like I sometimes my kids show me stuff on in high schools that goes viral. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I mean, I've been to high school. I'm sure you've been to high school, and you know what?
Hmm.
There was always some stuff, but it was
Yeah.
different. Now these kids just out of the blue, they just go and start knocking people down. So there's a lot of that.
Mm.
People make fun of people just because. Some people have no choice of who they are, how they look, what their background is, what their economics
Hmm.
are, and people thrive on those things. And it's really, as you said, it's really them projecting some, I guess, personal issues into somebody else. They're basically
Hmm.
deflecting your personal stuff into other people because you don't want people looking at you. You'd rather
Hmm.
be the center stage, attraction, but aligning it with somebody else's problems, and you basically defer that. But that's not good, right? And it takes a lot more energy,
Mm.
unfortunately. And you're right, like you just said it again. Why would I do this and anger somebody else who's going to anger more? Because once, like, listen, we all have this. You sometimes you wake up in the morning, you meet someone that really rubs you the wrong way, and he kind of
Hmm.
destroys your morning, right? You go to the meeting, and some boss or somebody screams at you or says something, and he kind of builds that nice negative momentum, and your day goes, south. It's like the impact is unbelievable when you talk to someone and you get that first, and similarly, if you talk to someone who brings you joy and love, you're like, you just spark up and the day is
Hmm.
going and your energy is different. So it's all that energy. And what you're talking about is really, it's real. As you talked about the universe, karma is real, justice is real, divine
Hmm.
justice exists. What goes around comes around. Whatever you
Hmm.
do, good, bad, you'll see it one way or the other. And we know that, everybody knows that, yet we choose sometimes to behave, the opposite way of good and in a negative way. And frankly, I'm a very big promoter of positivity and positive mindset. And what you said is really was a switch too. Like, again, we just talked, I just posted something about switching from one side to the other, and you can. It's just, it's a revelation to you that you
Hmm.
discovered it through time after many, many, I guess, struggles.
Hmm.
And you talked about love, like real relationship, dating and stuff. That in itself, sometimes doesn't work because there's different people with different opinions, different outcomes, outlooks in life, and obviously you don't match. There's no frequency, there's no vibe, there's no, I guess, chemistry that happens, right?
Hmm.
But this is like happening all over the world, and we see it in, like I mentioned, the school. We see it at work. People fight all the time at work, or even if they don't fight physically because of the lows, that you see them, like, going after each other's jobs, throwing people under the bus, sometimes going nasty on emails. We just talked about communication,
Hmm.
in the corporate world and how to properly stuff like that. We see condescending attitude from someone with a higher ranking to subordinate and whatever. We've seen people who look down to other people because of wealth, as opposed to who they are and how their true self. Because some people today, unfortunately, judge you for certain things that are irrelevant.
Hmm.
Instead of me looking at you for who you are, I will look at you and immediately, I mean, if we do this game, we will all fail. I mean, I think 99% of us will fail. And the game is very simple. If we start looking at people and just evaluate them just off by looking at them, that would be disastrous. And we do that all the time. We see someone and we just judge them because of the way they dress, the way they look, what they drive. Uh, Even on on social media, we have a lot of this stuff. I mean, the bullying that's happening on social media is not even funny. I mean, people go at each other's throat, in online, and people chime on that stuff. They just like thrive. It's like, yeah, let's get on it, and it happens so seriously. It's bad. I mean, some people get offended, some people get excited. I mean, if you have to react to everyone, I mean, you might as well shut it off, and that's it. But
Hmm.
it's real, and it's not necessarily a healthy, aspect of it. It creates stress, anxiety, depression, everything else. Even suicide can actually drive
Hmm.
from there. You know, every single case of suicide that at least I've read about and I've heard about was driven through some angry
Hmm.
elements and some bullying of sort that actually just escalate. Every murder or crime that happens typically happens because of anger that happens, and someone loses the cool, and next thing you know, they do something, they don't even understand what they did until it's over, and now they're stuck and their life is ruined, their family's life is ruined. So it's all kind of negative stuff. Yet the message of love exists. It's always been there, and it's easy. I love the facades or the sizes of the cube, because they all are powerful messages themselves. I mean, I love the idea of a gift. Even gifts. I mean, we're in the holiday season. There's everybody buying gifts everywhere now, and that's a sign. I mean, now they're not supposed to be limited to holidays and special occasions. A gift is a gift. You bring gift to people that you enjoy. A gift can be, like you said, nothing. We can just have a nice hug. We can have a nice little coffee, a little drink, whatever it is. A smile is a gift. It's charity, right? If I smile at you, I see this all the time. You look at somebody in the street, you smile at them, they look at you, they smile back. I've never seen someone you smile at them. I'm very rarely you smile at someone, they look at you like, what's up? They give you the frown, right? It doesn't. Even physically, when you smile and you're laughing, you use less muscles and you have a healthier outcome than if you actually frown and get all angry. And you get all worked out and your blood pressure is going up the roof. What the hell's going on? It's a decision, folks, we have to make. And it is easy to actually transit. We just have to make that choice that I want to be on this side, not this side. I mean, let's. I'm going to ask this question to our public right now. We all know when it rains and it's pouring and it's gloomy and it's you want to sleep, you want to be in a blanket, you don't want to do anything. Well, that's really what that anger is. It's just like dark. It's really bad. It's really not exciting. Well, imagine a good day in the summertime, beautiful, not too hot, mild, blue skies, nice little breeze. I mean, you feel excited. You feel like you want to do more things. Your energy is up. You want to go out early, do things. I mean, look at now. I mean, we have daylight savings. I mean, the day is short. It gets dark at 4:30. No one wants to do it at 4:30. You want to go to sleep because it's already dark. It's exactly that. I'm just giving an image, but that's really what it is. If you were actually to live in this, mode in this world of darkness, you're gonna stay in there. It's gonna really get on you badly, and you will wind up with diseases and everything else. If you're happier, there's a good chance. I think even I've read something about the happier people, the more energized people, they tend to have a healthier life, a better life, and actually it's fact. I mean, I was watching something the other day. What is it, Nas Daily or one of those influencers online, and they do these trips, and I think they talked about this island where everybody lived longer than the rest of the world. The average was like in the 90s and up, and because they lived a happy life. I think it was in Greece or somewhere. And these folks, they were just happy campers. And they lived longer. Now, I mean, we can talk about the span of life. We can talk about medicine. We can talk about all that stuff. And there's always some factors, but they lived a healthier life. They were happy. They were out. They were in the sun. They ate healthier. So a lot of stuff, but it's all in the positive love language, as you said. Nothing, hey, I'm sure there's different conflicts every now and then. Humans exist. There's evil that exists, and that's going to be. But we can actually really control it to a degree. We have controls. We have the ability. You can actually, someone talks to you the wrong way. There's two ways. I can go at you or I can walk away from you. Right? And it's really the same. It's a decision. I can walk away, cool, or I can say, you know what? It's a bad day for you. I get it. I'm out of here. Now, somebody can get angry when you say that. And if they really just want to get into trouble and they want to do stuff, then you got to do what you got to do. If you can't do something, if not, there's other ways to help yourself, in this situation. But I guarantee it, that if we show people that we are caring and loving and stuff, and, it will make a difference in their life. Sometimes people just need to be heard, or they just need somebody to talk to them. Like, they're just angry because life sucks for them. And some life does actually throw in bad, circumstances. And, over time, people just cannot take it anymore. Not everybody has the same threshold of pain management when it comes to the life and the burdens of life, right? And some people can handle it better. Their resilience is different. Some people easily get overwhelmed, and therefore their reaction is that. And by the way, we all have that. If you have a bad morning, you're waking up and you're not, the first thing that happens, you're like agitated. You just want to like snap at everybody, right? And that can happen to all of us. But if you are always in front of people and you're trying to give positivity, good, the love and stuff. I mean, again, like I love those sides. You had the heart. Yeah, listen, hey, I love you. And by the way, the word I love you doesn't mean anything in the wrong way. I mean, there's different levels of
Hmm.
love. You can love your children, your mom, your kids, your wife, your friends. Nothing wrong with that. You can love your colleagues, your friends. Listen, I love you, man, just like that. There's nothing wrong with it, so we get a little bit sensitive on the words like, oh my God, he told me I love me, I love you. It's just a message of I care. It's not a
Absolutely.
sexual any advancement here. It's more about the communication. If you tell someone that, you might change their heart about you or about life. And sometimes that's what people need. Like we hear this all the time. And actually, I somebody asked this question in one of the shows to our psychiatrist, doctor,
Hmm.
which is something that we do once a month. And the question was about, like the hug, whatever. And yes, the hug does make a difference.
Hmm.
Some people really
Uh,
like we hear this all the time. You need a hug. Yes, the hug. People sometimes need that hug just to feel some warmth, some contact with some. They don't get that. They don't have any love, in their life or their surroundings. Some people are born in conflict, conflict zones for war, conflict in family,
mhm.
foster care. I mean, yeah, foster care is a good way to maybe take children who have no parents, who have different situations and their stuff, but it's not the same love. Very few
No,
get the real love that a parent will provide, right? And so it's more of a transitory, kind of concept, a transitional piece. And that these people they go through the system, they're just basically from home to home, and it is a sad as sound. It is
that is
difficult for
sad.
them, and as they grow, I mean, they don't know what love is. Sometimes their reaction will be exactly what they've, been accustomed to. And I love what you said. You grew up in an environment that was angry. Now
Hmm.
you're probably the odd dude that's just like, all of a sudden you switch and you're like, I am different from everybody else. But I know now for a fact, and I haven't asked this question, you probably impacted everybody on the family, on the Zolmans.
Well, that's a really good question, Hurricane, and it really does impact you. You're sending out light. You're sending, as you've talked about, you're really trying to diffuse that darkness and make it brighter for have them have a brighter day. When they have a great day, they're going to tell their friends, and they're going to start saying, "This is a great day," and they'll start having that influence on people. And they don't do it as much as people that become miserable. People that become miserable, they want to tell everybody, and they're going to tell 15 or 20 people. People that have a great day, they may tell 3 or 4 people that they're having a great day. So that anger really spreads a whole lot faster, like wildfire, than love. But that's the whole idea with this, that we have the individual responsibility. It took me a long time. I was 35 years old before I realized I got to stop blaming my dad. My dad's been dead 7 years. I got to start taking responsibility for my own actions. If I'm getting angry, I'm repelling people. I'm like that guy in the pool that has the accident. Everybody's running away from me saying, it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. I don't want to be that guy. I'm done being that guy. And I want people to be drawn to me, not to have the personality that would repel people. And I think people genuinely need people. We need one another. Quit repelling them. Quit sending them out to pasture. Quit sending them out with an angry comment, with that bullying. And we got to stop that. You talk about bullying. I've been testing this in the school system. I've got a couple schools, actually one in the Bronx, but a school here where I'm located that is taking this and taking it to heart. At the beginning of the day, they take the 2 seconds, make that 2 second investment to roll the cube, whatever comes up. The teacher takes maybe 30, 45 seconds to explain, class, this is the type of behavior we're looking for. Now, granted, I'm starting at K through 6. I'm starting at the young ages because they're more impressionable. They don't have the bias that the older children have, or they don't have the learned behavior that the older children have. They are more impressionable. At the end of the day, I've talked to teachers, Hurricane, around the world that all of them concur that last 10 to 15 minutes a day is non-productive time. The kids are tired. They know the bell's going to ring. They get antsy. Their minds are mush. There's nothing they could learn more than what they've tried to incorporate into their lives that particular day. The best remedy for that is decompress. One of the best ways to decompress is to write a journal. So I've put together a journal that says what they rolled, opportunities they saw to love in that way, what they did about those opportunities. If these children, and I give that a PDF of that to the teacher, if these children realize at age 6 or at age 7 or 8 or 9 that they're responsible for their own actions, they've got such a huge head start from what I had when I grew up. 35 years old, and I just barely realized I'm responsible for everything that I do in that way, and all the bad stuff that I send out, it's going to come back. That's a boomerang you don't want to send out, because when that boomerang comes back at you, it has the velocity, it has gravity coming at. It's going to be 10 times worse than whatever you send it out. Who would choose to do that? But we do it every day, just like you said that. So now these kids are responsible. End of the day, they've got a report. That's going to tamp down a lot of that bullying. Now the teacher's really not as responsible as maybe they were before, because the children are taking their own responsibility. The principal doesn't have to be as responsible as it was before. They still have a lot of responsibility, but the kids are taking that responsibility for behaving on themselves. It has to be that way. For us to raise a generation that's going to be a loving generation, it has to be that way. Now these kids write about it. The teacher may withhold a few, read them in class, in front of the class the very next day. Say, look what Johnny did. Look what Susie did yesterday. Class, this is the type of behavior we're looking for. They'll roll the die and then they'll go through another day. And the kids are very smart. They'll catch on to the icons. I tested this with a family of 5 children. The youngest was 4 years old. And one day he rolled physical touch. And he's jumping up and down, pumping his fists, saying, yes, physical touch, physical touch. Immediately, Hurricane, he goes and beats up on his brothers. The mother's trying to suppress all this laughter, did not expect that, but it becomes a teaching moment. All the children are present, said, no, son, this would be a more appropriate way to express physical touch, love in that way. You can give a hug, you can do the high five, you can do the fist bump, you could create a special handshake that has 8 or 9 steps or 20 steps, whatever you'd like to try to develop that physical bond with that person for that particular day. It just becomes teaching moments. In the school, these become teaching moments. At the end of the school year, the student parent will have gathered each one of those journal pages, put them in chronological order, bind it in some way, bind it. Now that first grader has a journal. I absolutely would have loved to have a journal of what happened in first grade, because I absolutely loved my first grade teacher. Why did I love her? I don't know. I didn't write a journal about it. But I loved Mrs. Rogers. I can't remember second, third, fourth, or fifth grade teachers. I don't know their names. Can't remember what their names were. But I remember sixth grade. And it's just the kindness, I think the contrast from what my family was growing up to the kindness that those teachers gave. I would have loved to have a journal about that. In fact, I would have loved to have a love journal from my mother or my father or my grandmother or my grandfather. Instead, Hurricane, I got a journal about the weather. The weather 60 years ago. Who cares what the weather was like 60 years ago? I would love to have something. What did they love? What was there to love in their time frame?
Well, thank you. And I first of all, I do have a suggestion. I love your concept. I mean, we live in a world of digital, space.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you can convert this to a digital version of that, that would actually be a lot more accessible to people.
Sure.
Easy, like as an app or something. Just a suggestion, and do it quick before somebody else takes the concept. But certainly, I mean, I think you'll get a lot more reach, in different areas and all around the world. I mean, as apps are fun, and could be even in game consoles and whatever, and it could be like we have Monopoly, we have Yahtzee, we have all these sorry games.
Mm-hmm.
This could be just like a family thing. Let's see who gets the best concept for a night, and make it something different. And just a suggestion as listening to you, because I love the concept, and I love what you said about starting this in an early age in school, because at the end of the day, that's the next generation.
Yeah.
That's actually the next group of people that are gonna live in this world and take over. And if we can guide them from the beginning to be nicer people, that's all they're going to know. The world's going to be a better place. I think we lost some of that, over
Yeah.
the last few decades, and it got worse, and frankly, if we compare, our days and I think we're about the same age, maybe I'm a little older, I don't know, but, just literally, over the 10 decades, I mean, not even 10 decades would be too much, but 2, 3, 4 decades, 70s, 60s, 80s, 90s, right? Things have evolved, and I compare myself, for example, I was in elementary in the 70s. I look at my kids these days. I mean, I'm like, what the hell is going on in these schools? I mean, I cannot even understand what's going on at that age, right? I compare the high school days to their high school days. I cannot even see stuff. Now, I had
Hmm.
some bullying, but it was a little different. I mean, nobody really beat on you. It was just more like the words and things like that. They slapped you every now and then. You get those little
Hmm.
things. And there was a reason for me. And I was a tiny little dude, and that just it was easy to make those little things with me. And I took offense to it, and eventually I took my stands. But the fact is, it's still different over the decades. I think it got worse. And
Hmm.
now any help that we can have to change these things. I mean, first of all, we also have the news, we have things, we have so much
Hmm.
negativity that
Right.
is being absorbed, and people are angry just but I mean, it is true. If you keep watching bad stuff, you will have bad outcomes and bad reactions. Subconsciously, you're getting all that negative feed.
Hmm.
It's just like it's bull, like we talked about Yellowstone earlier, right?
Hmm.
Well, it's like that super volcano that is just under the ground, brewing, and you never know when that thing's gonna erupt, and boom, you got a super, action. Not a good, place to be at that
Hmm.
point. And we have that, but your concept can make a difference, and I love the way you do it. And you're right. I mean, at the end of the class, no one. I mean, they're already saturated. They're not
Right.
absorbing anything. But if you make that a fun 10 minutes to have something that is worth, something for them, do a little exercise. You said the next day. Why not? I mean, it can only
Hmm.
benefit. And you're right. Not that the teachers or the principal's not going to have more to do, more responsibility. They're just basically not going to deal with the nonsense that is
Hmm.
unnecessary.
Yeah.
They'll do exactly what the mission is, to educate and
Hmm.
and raise the next generation in their mind, right? As opposed to like dealing with the this one for this one, what's going on, detention, this, the other, all that stuff is irrelevant. If you can avoid all that, it would be great, right? But
Hmm.
you're given a tool. Now, ultimately, is this going to change the world tomorrow? Probably not. But the word out is going to make a difference. I think today is one good step towards sharing to more
Hmm.
people. And again, these people are going to share with others. And it's that's how we do it, folks. We just help each other one piece at a time. One little. We all have a role in this world. And just like Dr. Hyman, I always refer to him because he's my psychiatry doctor,
Hmm.
and I love his way about things. He's always about like we can change 1% at a time, one mind at a time to the positive, and the world is changing before you know it. More people are gonna, it's just a wave. All you need is like that first, stone in the lake, and then you get that ripple effect that goes all the way
Hmm.
to the other side.
Absolutely.
Same thing. We just need to get that dot in and then keep it going, and it just goes and spreads further. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here. So I commend you for it, but I still want to know, like, how did that your game, your style, your I guess technique and concept affect your family, if it did?
Great question, Hurricane. I think that it's really affected my family in many ways. Probably affected me most of all because I was the one that wanted that change. And I think that that's a key point of any change. So you have to want it. There has to be that desire there, or it's not ever going to happen. You can't have intervention and say you're going to roll this die for the rest of your life and you're going to do what it says. You can't do it like that. Has to be that voluntary. I have an issue. I want to overcome this issue. I want to use this love tool to actually become more loving. I want that paradigm shift instead of focusing on that guy that just pulled in front of me, that SOB. I just, instead of focusing on that, I want to be kind in my thoughts. How do I change that? How do I get that paradigm shift? And you've got to figure out how to have that desire to want to make that change. This is a perfect tool for it. This sets in 2 seconds or less, it sets a theme for the day. It sets a purpose for the day. It gives you some gas, and it's a picture on purpose, Hurricane, because pictures burn into your mind. If I say the word elephant, you're not seeing in your mind ELEPHANT. You're seeing the picture. Everybody sees that. This will burn into your mind. It'll be a memory hook for you. What did I roll earlier today? for many years, I've done this since 2017. I've had the cube. I just wrote the book and published it this year, but I've had the cube since 2017. First prototype was wood. It was 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches, sharp edges, just like me. I had sharp edges. Oh, that's a little interesting. It wouldn't roll for whatever reason. The sharp edges would dig into the carpet and they'd stop, and it would just really stop and it just be aggravating. I had to round off the edges, just like me. I had to round off those edges, just refine yourself a little bit, and then it came to the 1 inch by 1 inch cube that I've got right now. And it rolls very well. It's very easy to put into play. This is something that can set a tone for the day, for your life. And I still, when I was first started, I kept one of these 1 inch by 1 inch ones in my pocket every single day. It's a great conversation piece. But if I forgot to roll it, I've got it. I can roll it. Okay, from here on, now I'm reminded, what am I doing today? What love am I, what opportunities am I watching for today? What am I going to do about it?
I have a name for it. You probably have a name, but I call it the love dice.
Love dice is good, but I call it the roll of love. And I did a play on words, Hurricane. There, ROLL is something that happens outside of you. ROLE is the change that happens within. Okay. We're looking for the change within. So it's roleoflove.com. That's the website.
Well, I love it, and frankly, I mean, to be honest with you, like I had another show recently about a device that should be in everybody's hands. In this case, I would literally see this as being a tool that everybody has with them every morning. Everybody should have one. It's a small toy. I'm gonna roll the dice in the morning. This is the roll of love. See what happens. What my days are gonna look like. Boom, and you have either one side of them is gonna be a positive side. So you're not going anywhere negative. So by just doing that, you're already sending. And by the way, a lot of the success, positive talks out there, all these super guys that are out there and gals, if you hear them, there's all about that morning affirmation, saying good things in the positivity in the morning. That will determine the rest of your day. And you're just adding a tool now to, instead of just saying things, now you can manifest them physically in front of you by seeing it. Seeing is believing. You throw it, you see it. Now you have a visual effect, as you said, and that picture stays with you. And even if and that's the thing, if you have it with you, they have the lucky pennies or lucky whatever coins, this will be a lucky dice. Whenever you forget, just throw that thing in. It's like, it resets you. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can use this, folks. And why not? I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, that's why I said, if you have a digital on the phone, they'll just be like, zap, let's see what side does it fall on. Yeah. But I love it. Like, when he said it was sharp on the edges, that's how it was. And then you kind of refine those edges. Now it kind of moves smoothly and it really gets to roll a little bit longer. And again, folks, this is a simple thing in visual, but it's a huge thing in concept and what it does. It changed you. And that's the other thing. I love what you said there, because that's an important piece. You have to have that will and be, the one that wants to change. No one can change anyone unless they have the willness and the willpower that's the intent. If your intent is not there, you're not going to make it. If you're not committed to it, it's not going to happen. I can talk to you day and night for years. Nothing's going to change. But it takes 1 second when you decide, I am tired of this. I am done. I'm not getting it. And by the way, anyone listening right now, we all have bad days. I just said, another one yesterday, like we're not perfect. No one is. We're talking right now and we're still not there, right? But here's what's the difference. Every time we talk about this, we keep that positivity on the right side. We keep seeing it, hearing it, and subconsciously it keeps feeding us. When we need it, it's going to just manifest. But if we don't talk about it and it's out of sight, out of mind, then that's really what it is, out of mind. Therefore, you can become and really succumb back and revert to that bad behavior, whatever it is that is angry in you and making you do bad things. So again, now, we're not judging people. We know that there's always something behind everybody's behavior. And, psychologically speaking, no one out there, even the people that do bad things, they need help themselves, because the reason they do is because there's something missing that is driving them to do these things. Sadly, that's real life. And there's, again, we talked about evil. For those people who have faith, who have religion, have concepts, evil is real. It exists. And, for those people that don't believe, well, call it negative energy. But it
Mhm.
does exist, and it there's nothing we can do about it. But we can do something about, kind of working against it and basically defeating that energy by positive energy. And we can do it through these, devices, tools, concepts, discussions. Those are the things. So that's the way it works. So I'm really, I mean, I admire this thing. I'm in
Well,
love with that love, the role lover.
oh, thank you, Hurricane. And it really is a fun thing. I love the variety. Is what the survey did that Dr. Chapman had. It kind of put people in a box, saying something like this: says, Hurricane, you're going to have to eat tacos every day the rest of your life because that's all the kind of love I'm going to give to you. I love to give you tacos. That's it. This flavors it up a little bit. Every day is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to send out love in a little bit different way every single day. People love that variety and they love it in different ways. Like especially Christmas time, we're looking at gifts. On our birthday, we're looking for a gift. But other times we might be looking for a hug. We might be looking for spending time together. Might be looking for a vacation together. Something else is what we're looking for. This provides that variety, and it really becomes something that people become versed in all the love languages. Best part about that is that it really improves the communication skills. Now you've got a peripheral vision that you can see it when it comes your way. Most people only respond to what they like. They only have that one or maybe two love languages that they really like, a way that they like to be loved. They send it out in hopes of reciprocity. It's not a transaction. Love isn't a transactional. You send it out without any expectation of it coming back and trusting the universe to bring it back. This is something that gives you that understanding that says, oh, they're loving on me. It's not my primary love language, but I see they're loving on me. They're trying. I can respond to that.
Well, I'm listening to you, right? And I was just reflecting on something. We have all the capabilities,
Mm-hmm.
and we have all the dualities. As any human, we're capable of good and bad.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. And what it takes is really the will, and what it takes is for us to be able to see that we want to be on the right side. We can make a difference anywhere, any place. Workplace is a place that needs a lot of this.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes, there's a lot of animosity that takes place at work, right? We can do that. We talked about the school, the
Mm-hmm.
streets, in the business world, on a trip, on a plane, we see people fight.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing. But I love that the concept where you can make a difference on a day-to-day basis. You can
Mm-hmm.
make a few things in a day. I mean, who says we can roll it 6 times a day or 5 times a day? And just do 5 things. And I love what you said about the gifts. Sometimes they come, in holidays and specific
Mm-hmm.
occasions. But there's 365 days in a year. Every day should be positive. Every day we should be able to do something different. And again, doesn't have to cost a penny. See that some
Mm-hmm.
people actually will not do good deeds because they don't have the means. They say, "Well, I can't
Mm-hmm.
buy somebody something." But who says that everybody wants something tangible and manual or physical? People sometimes want emotional stuff. They don't need any. I don't need your gift. Physical gift. I just need you to be there, for example, right?
Yeah.
You have a great friend. Do I really want my friend to just show the friendship, by giving me a gift to, oh, I remembered you, or to be there when I need them? You know what I mean? And so,
Mm-hmm.
so those are behaviors that we can choose. What you gave right now is a concept and a tool that everyone could literally have in their pocket. And maybe does it come with the journal as an actual a set or something, or that
So
just
absolutely, I've got it in a bundle of the book, the journal, and the cube, all for $29.99. It's a whole lot less than just one therapy session, but it's going to last you a whole lot longer than the therapy session. This is really a tool that you can use every day. That one cube that I had in my pocket for 7 years, I lost it somehow, but it still had you still could see everything. That it's a kind of a raised lettering, raised artwork on it, and it's hand etched. It's really a nice piece of acrylic that you can beat it up a little bit, but I mean, it's just something that you can keep with you a long time. Something that can be that reminder for you. What am I doing today? And it's not an event, Hurricane, anymore. It's not that I did the dishes. Ooh, I'm done. It's not like that at all. It's all day to everybody. This isn't that romantic love that Dr. Chapman was talking about in his book, The Five Love Languages. This is giving it to everybody. And the reason for that is I created this when I was single. I said, Dr. Chapman, who in the heck am I supposed to love? And then it occurred to me, oh, I'll just love everybody. I needed that consistency in my life to be able to change behavior. I needed that constancy so that I was loving all the time, all day, to everybody. I needed to crowd out that anger. I needed that replacement behavior to be able to make it stick, to make it work for me. It worked. It's worked very well.
Paul, this is awesome because, as you said, you did this while you were not in a relationship, which basically it opened you up to everybody. You're in a relationship with everyone around the world because you want to love everyone. But I guarantee you, in your intimate space now, you're even much better than you ever were because those behaviors now are part of you. And here's the thing. There is no language specific that is needed here. You don't need to speak English to actually have this game or this stuff. You could put in your own language, whatever that language may be. It is universal and it can be anywhere in the world. So for all our audiences worldwide, this is not something that it is restricted to the US or Canada or some Anglo, language countries. Everybody can use the same thing. The pictures are worth 1,000 words and they don't need any, specific lettering to them. You will know them by seeing them. I mean, if you watch the video right now or the show, you're going to see what those sides are. And you described them so well that even if you're on audio, you're going to be able to visualize those. And that's all there is. And we'll have the link there. Click on the link. It will go to Paul's, site, and you'll be able to see the device and the tools and the book. But the concept is worldwide. Anyone around the world can actually use this. I think we can use a lot of love these days because there's so much hate that is not even funny. And anything we can do to hopefully change that, maybe they'll call me naive personally, or they're going to call me like I'm too optimistic. But I choose to be, optimistic for a reason. It's a choice. I'm not naive and I'm not dumb. I'm not an idiot. I know what the world is. But, if we all have to start here, and if I start, you start, the other person, anybody that's watching is starting, that's a start in its own. And then we can be contagious enough to give it to the others. And it's like that domino effect. All it takes is the first one to drop and boom, everybody else gets affected with it. That's what we want. We want this positivity, streak to go around and round and round, and this wave keeps going and affect as many. This is a virus we want to send out.
I was just going to say that exactly those words.
Yeah, I read you might.
I know. We're on the same wavelength there. Great job, Hurricane. Thank you. Yeah, this is we're talking about languages, and just want to bring in one thing about languages. There's some words that we get from the Sanskrit dialect in northern India. We get nirvana from there. We get karma from there. But the word I want to talk about is namaste. Namaste is, maybe you hear it at the end of a yoga class. The teacher puts the hands together, bows her head and close eyes and say namaste. It doesn't mean, hey, y'all, class is all over. You can go now. It really has a sacred meaning. And it really, in the Hindu interpretation of it, it means the God in me sees the God in you. Or put another way, the divine in me or the good in me sees the divine in you. That's what we're talking about here. This really is that namaste to the nth degree. We're trying to help people see the good in one another. We're missing the 80 to 90% that people really are good. Even if they're only 60% good, forget the 40%. That's a minority of their personality. Focus on the good that they're doing. And that's just going to be a better place. Forget the media. The media is going to say 90% bad. Maybe they'll have a 10% segment on there that might be good. Forget all about that. Just focus on the good that people are, and we have a lot of good people around us everywhere we're at. We have good people in our family, in our neighborhood, in our community, in our state, in our nation, around the world. There's good people all over the place. Let's find them.
Which movie was that? Dumb and Dumber. I think it was Dumb and Dumber. And one of the scenes there where he says, "Is there any chance in a chance that we can be together?" And she said, "One in a million." He's like, "Oh, so there is a chance. There's still a chance." He was very helpful. But that, I mean, it's comedic stuff. But really, that it sounds so stupid and so very like childish. But you got to think about the deep meaning here. That no matter what situation, you got to see that there is still that potential of positivity. See,
Yeah.
1 million, odds to one. There's still one. I will
Yeah.
focus on the one. And that's all that makes a difference. That's really the difference between how we operate. We
Mhm.
need to be seeing that one, the 1 degree, the one. It's not focus about everything else. Yes, there's so much things that can be going wrong with someone, and it's overwhelming that you don't want to think. But sometimes you want to see like, what is the one thing that's good about them? What can they possibly, and what can you possibly do to help them? And that's all there is. Now, is it going to work all the time? Probably not. Some people,
Mhm.
they just, no matter what you do with them, they're not going to change who they are, right? It may take a big event to actually make a difference for them, where they can make that transition. But you said it yourself. For years, you didn't, you were one person,
Mhm.
and it just dawned on you like, oh, this is not working. And I've heard this story over and over. A lot of people that had that, behavior, whatever sort of behavior that was not, very fulfilling, I would say.
Mhm.
Eventually, they realize it's not doing something. There's something wrong, and you will know there's something wrong. If you're always
Mhm.
angry, if you're always not happy, there's something off. So all you have to do is admit that there's something going on, and then that's where the story begins. That's where the change happens. I mean, that's where people actually get cured and get the help and the resources that they need. Is when they determine like there's something off. And that only happens if you start always questioning yourself. Don't put the blame on everybody else. It's all the world's fault. I have nothing to do with it. Well, guess what? I have this logic that I believe in it, from all my heart, is that we all have our own realities, and our reality is basically interacting with everybody else's reality. So think about a multiverse concept, and it's your verse and my verse and everybody's verse, and we all kind of
Mhm.
mash up in this called life. And so everybody that interacts with me, they come into my reality, and I go into their reality, and we can exchange things. But reality, that's what it is. So if I know what my reality is, then I can make some differences in some stuff.
Mhm.
But you have to be aware. And I mean, that's just philosophically speaking, as a theme here. But
I
but
agree.
the idea is that it's your world, and you can't. No one can change your world except you. But you can change it by first of all, being aware that there's something off, and then from there you can actually reach out to all these other realities and worlds around you, and be able to capture things that were positive for you, that can make a change, and hopefully give you a better life. And you'll see the change. You'll see it physically, you see it mentally, you see it in a relationship, you see it in people tending to have a lot more feel for you, and one, kind of, uh, what do you call it? Going towards you, like attracted
Mhm.
to you. These are things that can happen, and it's not a secret. You'll find this. You'll be able to see the difference. It's day versus night. There's no
Mhm.
doubt you're not going to be able to see. There's no gray hair here. You'll see the difference when that starts happening, and that's all there is. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry about that. I went on a rant there.
No, no, I absolutely agree with you, Hurricane. And what it is what I call it is if you can find a moment that you can do some self-actualization, find out where you are on the spectrum. That's what was really helpful for me. My spectrum for me was anger versus love, and I found a lot of the activities that I would do were on that angry spectrum. I said, well, what is a descriptive word, an adjective for what behavior is going on right now? When I realized that, oh, I'm being sarcastic. Well, what would be the opposite of sarcastic? Oh, you mean not genuine or authentic or being truthful? When you put those two words side by side, everybody's going to gravitate. Oh, I want to be genuine. I want to be authentic. They're not going to want to be sarcastic. And you can take that with any word, figure out what the opposite is, and then that's your goal. But you have to have that self-actualization moment like you're talking about, her. And you've got to find out where you're at. Otherwise, if you don't do that, if you're blaming people, you're stuck. It's their fault. Go talk to them. You're not going to make any progress at all. When you self-actualize, now you're at a point, oh, I can see now where I need to go. You can start making goals and make the pursuit that way. You can't do it by blaming other people. Stop it.
Well, I love it. Thank you. And just to add to that, what's going to happen? People are going to run away from you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. No one wants to be around the sarcastic dude or do that. I
no.
mean, it's just think about it. If you first of all, you can see when someone is sarcastic. You can tell when someone is very funny, and being not respectful, because sarcasm, does intend the idea of not being very nice to you, right? And if you're not nice to me, you're just basically shut down from my world. I mean, at least me personally, that's how I operate. I interact with you. You rub me the wrong way. You basically gonna be like, just like poof, you disappear from my world. You won't even hear from me or see me. You'll be blocked in real life and social and everything in my life. You have no access to me. And that's all, because I don't want to surround myself with anyone that's gonna, affect me in a negative way or irritate me. I have no room for that. Time is valuable. It's a commodity we don't get more of. And I'm not gonna get, all excited and bent out of shape because someone wants to have a field day with me. Bye. Find yourself another target. I am not it, and that's it. And so you'll find people running away from you. Now, like I said, the opposite will be like, you're good. People are going to want to gravitate towards. That's what I was using for, looking for earlier. Gravitate towards you and come to you. And that's not a bad thing. And look, this is not about fame or being, popular. It's not a contest. It's more about the idea that you're just a good person and that, people want to be around. It's like, do you want to be in the cold or you want to be in the warmth? I mean, you create a warm environment, and so that's where people come in. They get cozy. The other way is like, like darts and shots, and it's like, it's just,
you're ducking.
exactly.
Yeah.
Why am I'm like, in a ring fighting. I don't have to be fighting all the time. I want to be in a cool place. I only fight if I have no choice, but I don't have to be like fighting just to survive, a relationship. No. And that happens actually in real relationships. And, I'm not even, as parents and children, that's one, but definitely in a love relationship, marital relationships, or couples, that's a big deal. Like you're in a relationship where it's all bad. You bickering. What's the point of being together? It doesn't work. That's it. You just move on. There is no chemistry. There's no connection. What's up? The people that make it, they tend to work it and make those necessary shifts so they can actually be good. I mean, again, with Dr. Heim, they did just him and his wife. They both did a great research, and they put this book called Resilient Relationships, and they're actually going to they started a show on the network. It's called Resilient Relationships, and it talks about like all the things that make these relationships last longer, and a lot of it is these little things, these sacrifices, the love, the working together and stuff, as opposed to like being like, complete opposites. Everything is bad. It's your fault. Everybody's looking like, and even at work, I see this all the time. It's like, who's to blame? Whose head's going to roll? I mean, and it's just the behavior that I personally, I worked at a company, and there was a point where we go to this meeting every Friday, and I hear this, who will be terminated? Whose head's going to roll today? Who do we drop? I mean, literally, there was a couple of months where I was hearing this every Friday. It was a turnoff. These are lives that you're deciding on. And by the way, I've been in the corporate world. Did I terminate people? Yes, but I always say I never fired people. I terminate people, and there's a difference. I never I did it on purpose or something. I mean, there's an expectation, including me. If I don't do my job, I expect that. There is an expectation when you join a company or whatever role in, you're supposed to deliver. You have deliverables. If you don't perform, you're the one who's determined whether you stay or terminate based on the contractor. But it's not, I'm not on a vendetta. I'm not actually going after you. It's not a witch hunt. It's never that. So I can sleep, with my conscience. But these, like the one I gave you, where it's just because we need to drop someone. No, we don't need to drop someone. If they do their job, I don't need to do now. If we have a financial crisis and we have to maybe lay off people, that maybe we can move people from one department to the other, give
Mhm.
them different things. I mean, there's ways to do this. And I've seen some companies do exactly that. They try to maintain regardless. I mean, through COVID, a lot of people, lost jobs, and some companies actually did a good job to maintain the employees who were,
Mhm.
so again, you can do things, it's a choice, folks. It's not, but like I said, this affects everyday life from your home, family, work, in the street, in the bus, in the car. It's the same thing. I mean, if I had it, listen, I drive a lot, and I tell you this: if for every single irritation I get in the street, I would have a fight every 2 minutes. One thing I like, a pet beef is like when people honk on you for nothing. You know, the light just turned, and then like the third car in the back or the fourth car is actually honking. It's annoying. Or like, oh, the other thing that annoys me when I'm driving, I see people at the light looking at their phone, and the light is green, and they're still reading the stuff.
Mhm.
This is, you're driving. This is not a time to read your emails or text. On in the car. But if I had to react to every one of those, I would come and snatch everybody from their vehicles. I mean, but that's where you go to that range of
Mhm.
anger and bad stuff. Or I can say, you know what? They're having a bad day. I always try to find justification. And by the way, try to find, that's another tool I use, is I always try to find justification. Maybe they're having a bad day. You never know what their day is looking like,
Yeah, give them
so,
give them the benefit of the doubt.
benefit of the doubt. Yeah. You don't know if someone just lost their job or lost
Mhm.
somebody that they love, or, they heard the bad news or they got a bad diagnosis. You
Mhm.
don't know, their kid got in an accident, something happened to them. And, their mind is not fully there because they're distracted now.
Mhm.
You just make an assumption, and that assumption can be wrong. And what's the point?
Or
You
you
know?
make it about you. You
Oh,
make it about you,
that is
and
true.
it's not about them. And this really changes that whole picture that you're talking about, Hurricane. That it's no longer about you; it's about them. It's about lighting them up and about helping them have a better day. And there's great satisfaction in doing that for another person. In my neighborhood, there's a an elderly assisted living home just a couple blocks away from where I live, and then there's some independent living. In the community center of the independent living, they always have a puzzle up. I go play puzzle with these elderly people just because I want to hear their stories. They are kind of cooped up there. They're not that ambient. They can't get around so much, but I just go play puzzle with them and talk to them. They just absolutely love it. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time, but it's just worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Take some time for kindness. Plan it into your day.
Again, this is all about awareness. You got to be
Mm,
self-aware. And
yeah.
and you're right. This is not so much about us in person. It's about us in a society and how we work with everybody else. And you're gonna affect people's lives, and then
Hmm.
ultimately it goes back to you. So I might as well do a good job about everybody else, and
Right.
ultimately I'll reap the fruits and the benefits in terms, in time. And I'm good with that. So it's all about give. And again, being a giver sometimes is a lot
Hmm.
better than being a taker, and give more than you can take. I mean, at least that's my concept, and I'm happy with it. I can be content with a little, but it's always good if I have something to share, I share it. I mean, even information is worth sharing, and this is what we do here. It's just to give information and resources to people so they can, maybe someone is having a bad day, maybe this show is going to make it a day. You never know who you affect and impact with one sentence that you say, good or bad. Actually, it could be both ways. And that's the other thing, words can make a big impact on people.
Oh, they do.
So
Absolutely.
if you keep your vocabulary all positive, and there's a very less chance of you to go in the negative. But if your vocabulary is 99% full, maybe that 1%, say I'm going to the 1%, is the good one, but the probability is going to be higher on the other side. So shift it, and then that's all good. You win. Again, this is a win-win for all discussion.
Mhm. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that too, that there's a vocabulary for that angry culture. There's a humor that belongs with that angry culture. It's all put down, it's all you're the butt of the joke. I mean, it's all that type of humor, and it's the vocabulary that goes along with it. It's better to clean your language up, go to the loving side, be thoughtful, be kind in your tone of voice. Even a tone of voice can send out kindness. Just choose to do that, and that's a choice. Make that choice.
I'm going to give an example. This is going to sound funny. You never know what will affect somebody, in a negative way, or make them feel something wrong. And this could be as simple as this. This true story. I had a regular watch one time. Nothing fancy. It's to me, I believe watches are just good for time.
Mhm.
All the fancy, stuff. Whether you can afford them, that's great. You can have them. That's his choice. But at the end of the day, every watch, as long as it's working, it's giving you the same time, right? And so I had this watch, and this dude, uh, in this particular corporate world and environment, it was all about like who's got the best and the most expensive. So this dude makes fun. I was like, "What kind of watch is that?" Like, it's just a watch that says the time.
Yeah.
But you see, but that to me was condescending. You see, now obviously I was not in a position where I would literally, chime in them and go crazy with them. But to me, like that was kind of like, looking at you down, like, whatever it is. And so maybe I was too sensitive, but I absorbed it. Like, see, I absorb
Hmm.
things and I calculate them and kind of process them. And you can tell when it's a positive, message, or it's a joke or sarcasm, or
Hmm.
like condescending, or like, belittling you, or making you feel awkward or not be. And that's just an example. And there's thousands of these examples that
Hmm.
happen to people every day. So you got to be careful what you say to people. And, it may be a joke to you, but it's not to them, because you don't know what their background is and how they feel about certain things. And also in a position of power, if you have authority of people, if you say something, you might think it's nothing, but for them, it could be very, sensitive. So be careful, folks. If you want the language of love, you have to keep the love going. And that's how it is. Use it as part of your day in, day out work, and you will avoid these things. I don't have to criticize what you wear. I don't care what you wear. I just
Hmm.
want to spread the love. I want to see you. I want to say the good thing. I don't have to do anything about that, because I don't want you to feel, that you're not worthy or you're this.
Hmm.
And that's the thing that people sometimes don't understand, or at least they don't calculate when they speak. Words are like, bullets. If you throw a word out there, you actually shot somebody.
Yeah.
You just don't realize the damage that it did because it's not bleeding in front of you. But he might be bleeding internally and mentally. So that's an example that, simple sounds, but I can tell you this happened 12 years ago and I still remember it. And that's just
Hmm.
one event, a small little thing. But the fact that the way it was said, you know, I still have that watch,
Yeah.
just for that person if they ever hear this show, uh, you know. But that's the point. It is a watch that gives the time. Now I do have a few other ones that probably a lot more pricier than that one, but it doesn't matter to me. It's not the price. It's just if I like something, I don't care if it's $1. I buy from a dollar store and I buy from $1,000 store. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter to me. If I like something, I get it, and that's what it is. If it makes sense to me, for the use, I'll do it. I don't have to be extravagant, but I can indulge my life if I want. And by the way, this is not about me. I'm just talking in general.
Sure.
We all have to, the ability to do both. If we can, we can. But it's not the thing. Like I always say something about materialistic stuff. You know, um, Keep it in your hands, not in your heart. Meaning that you can have things, but don't get too tied to the world,
Hmm.
the world stuff. If you can have wealth and rich and fancy stuff, why not? But make sure it doesn't turn you, convert you, change you from the
Hmm.
core of who you are. Some people convert easily, with these things. You can't. You have to be. You talk about the word genuine. You got to be genuine through.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter what phases you, good, bad, in the world, you are you. And that's a different story of every person, but you got to work towards doing that. Anyway, so I kind of got into, but you gave me that little, thing clicked in my mind.
Yeah, no worries. What I found, Hurricane, is with what happened to me is that remember I was stacking annoyance on top of annoyance to get to that flash of anger. Now it's different. Now I stack kindness on top of kindness on top of kindness to get to higher laws of love. We've talked about the basic laws of love that I call the basic. These love languages are basic. Everybody really needs to know these basics. But these basics can stair step to the higher laws of love, like charity or compassion or intimacy. Can you imagine insulting your wife or your partner and wanting to be intimate at the end of that? Not going to be happening. Or asking for forgiveness and you're insulting, and then asking for forgiveness. Probably not going to be happening. Steps, do the steps of kindness and practice these love languages That is how you get to the higher laws of love. This is going to be the compassion, the mercy, the empathy, the sympathy, the forgiveness that you're looking for, that intimacy that you're looking for. This is how you get there. We want to jump there and be there, but it doesn't work that way. You've got to put in the work, and it's going to take a little bit of learning curve. It did for me to be able to give away a love language that you're not familiar with. Get over that learning curve. You can do it in 30 days. I'm guaranteeing you can do it in 30 days. You'll want to do it continually after that 30-day period, but get over that learning curve of that 30 days. Learn how to give it away. There's a lot of material on my website that can give suggestions of what to do in each genre of the love language, in each type of love language. There's a lot of helps out there to get you on your way, but you got to start somewhere. Start today.
Today is always a good day, right?
Well,
today is the only day because tomorrow is not guaranteed, right? We're here.
Right.
We got to focus on today, and we start now. Tomorrow we begin again. We'll throw the dice and see what happens. Or the roll, the roll of love.
Roll of love. Yeah.
Well, here's one thing. I love what you said because the concept is, think about it this way, folks. The more of these layers of love that you build, the thicker your fortress is. And the least the amount of negativity can penetrate, right? It's like thick skin. That's really what it is. You are building a nice little, space between you and the bad stuff. So even if the bad stuff is hovering, it's like you had a nice shield, as opposed to like if you have none, you'll be exposed quickly. And that's really what you're doing. But to your point, this is not going to happen overnight. You got to work towards it, change your mindset, work towards it, adopt those behaviors and those happy streaks on a day-to-day basis, and you will transform. And this is the best transformation. I mean, we on some of the shows we talk about transforming the mind, the body, the spirit, everything, and this is touching on all of them as well. It's all the same. And by the way, if you have all this stuff, you're going to find yourself in a better place, even in health-wise, because your health is going to be, anger is your blood pressure up, your stress is up. Everything can go wrong with your health as well as your physical aspect. You might not want to go to the gym because you're just too tense, whatever. When you have the loving, streak about you, everything becomes good, and you're gonna see, oh, I want to look better. I want to do stuff. It's gonna drive you to do better things, and ultimately make you a better person. Period. Now, someone says, "Well, makes you the judges of me being a better person." We don't know. I don't know everybody out there, but we tell you the traits are. You can look it up. Does it fit the profile? That's the answer.
Exactly.
You will know what that answer is, based on the questions. If anything we talked about is fitting correctly somewhere, then that's where you stand today, and you can always make that transition. That's all.
Absolutely.
Well, so Paul, I mean, we've covered quite a bit. We've exceeded the hour, and it's been real. I mean, I enjoyed this discussion, man.
Great discussion. Thank you so much. I just have one maybe parting comment that I'd like to say. There's a classic movie out there, came out in the 60s, maybe 70s. I think it was the 60s, called The Sound of Music. And The Sound of Music is a great classic. In that movie, there's the little bike rider that has his little basket. He's delivering the mail. His name's Rolf. Rolf is in love with Maria von Trapp. Rolf is on the grass. Maria's on the second story. He starts singing a song. Some of the lyrics of that song are worth quoting here. He says, "Love in the heart wasn't put there to stay. Love isn't love till it's given away." That's kind of what we're doing right now. Got to give it away.
Love it. I mean, some people say movies are not worth it. Movies, some of them are worth it. And by the way, I do want to say this: movies are for entertainment, but there's beyond that. I mean, a lot of movies are scripts, and scripts are driven either by books or by messages that are produced by those screenwriters and the script writers. And there's a message in every one of those, whether it's funny or political or whatever. There's still messages that go through these things. And these quotes sometimes are very powerful that you get. I mean, if you go in the worlds of sales, which that's one of my areas, there's a lot of movies that have great quotes, that are used in sales trainings and things like that. And you can do the same thing with the fitness, and you can do that with leadership. I just was watching a new movie that came out, Gran Turismo. Now, Gran Turismo is a movie about games. But if you watch this movie and if you're a leader and a trainer, then you want to look at this movie because there's a lot of components that can teach your teams different aspects, and even you as to approach certain things, tragedy, this, that, dilemma, how you can transform someone, the focus, all these things can be put together. So those, since you quoted the movie, I just wanted to throw that in because people say like because obviously, listen, we talk about success, and we certainly don't have time to binge a lot of movies, but there's some movies that you want to watch, and you have to, if you're going to watch them, are you doing just for pure entertainment, or are you doing it because you extract things from them? I personally use movies in trainings all the time, and I've used many successfully. We watch them, we debate about the movie, we take roles, and the best ones are like war, strategy movies, sport movies, business movies, some of those, and as well as the movies where there's like disasters, and some of it is really the question: who would you be? This character, this guy. What would you have done? The movies about sports, we talk about teamwork, about leadership, about coaching, mentoring, tone of discussion, pushing people to the limit. So depending on the theme, you can pick. In this case, a movie about love, and there's a lot of beautiful movies about love, that have great quotes, that work in this line. And again, depends on the theme and the topic you have. There is a whole set of movies that probably will touch, and quotes from those movies can be appropriate to use in training or even discussion. So just this was a plug for the people that would say like, you guys try all this positive and you waste time. We don't waste time. It's just how you use your time. And that's all I want to say. So you can use your time in a better way, even when you entertain yourself. And I'll stop with that one.
Great discussion, Hurricane. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be with you today.
Oh, no, the pleasure was mine. Actually, I was going to ask you to close it, but you already did that with those words of love message. And you know what? We should all listen. I want to have the link to your website so people actually can click on it, see it, learn from it. And certainly, folks, this is not something. I mean, you said $29.99 for the whole set. I don't know if they're separated or they're only on one set, but at the end of the day, you can even get 2 meals right now for that price.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is expensive now. It's not even funny, this whole thing that I saw the other day about what is it? Five Guys? Do you have Five Guys in your area? All right, so two burgers with the 2 shakes and fries. It was like $45. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing, like the prices out there, in drinks and fast food now. So sometimes this could last you a whole time and it will benefit you. The meal may just hurt you or benefit you. Depends what you pick.
Yeah, exactly.
But all I'm saying is, folks, you got to always make the judgment of what works for you. And we're not pushing anything on you, but we're certainly exposing you to information and resources that if you deem good for you, you should entertain them. That's all. So Paul, listen, it was fun, man. I've learned a lot. I've enjoyed this discussion, and I'm sure our viewers and listeners are going to benefit from it. Thank you so much for being with us, man.
Thank you, Hurricane. It's been my pleasure.
Likewise, and folks, there you have it. This is the end of the show. So we'll hope that you enjoyed this particular episode, and we'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new guest, new topic. Bye for now.